This is our friend's outdated kitchen, and we have big plans to turn this thing into a showstopper. But the only problem is we're working with a really tight budget, so we're having to use a lot of creativity and DIY skills to pull this thing off.
In week 1, we started with demoing the kitchen and reconfiguring some of the cabinets.
In week 2, Andrea built a spacious kitchen island as well as a custom vent hood.
In week 3, I painted all of the kitchen cabinets, which totally changed the look of the space.
And today, Andrea's gonna get creative and install a beautiful yet really cost-efficient backsplash. Welcome to the adventures of my DIY wife and her non-handy husband. We started out this week like we do pretty much every other week with a trip to the hardware store.
This week's main project is the backsplash, and for that we're going to be using these 4x8 faux brick panels.
I like to use good form. And then we went ahead and grabbed all the supplies that we would need for painting and played a little Tetris in our minivan.
No, we're not doing this one first.
Uh-huh. Yeah! It's amazing what you can fit in a minivan.
Oh, don't hit anybody. Back at the house, there was a lot going on. Our drywall guys were making a lot of repairs, and really exciting, countertops were finally being installed. All right, so countertops are in and they look incredible. This is when it starts getting so exciting because you walk in and you're just like, you're just such big changes. Today we're gonna be working on the backsplash, and we're gonna be using these faux brick panels and going all the way to the ceiling. It'll be a great budget-friendly option, and hopefully we can knock out all of that today. The first step in installing this brick backsplash was, of course, to measure from the countertop to the ceiling. Since I'm going to be adding floating shelves on this main wall, I thought it would look so great to carry that brick all the way up to the ceiling. This actually isn't the first time I've used these brick panels, and in previous projects I figured out that the best way to conceal these seams is to cut out the little half bricks between the panels. Once I had the overall size cut, I was able to measure and mark where the outlets and switches go. Then I drilled a starter hole and used my jigsaw to cut out where I had marked. Once all the cuts were done, I used liquid nails and a brad nailer to attach it to the wall. This piece required a few more trips back and forth because I was cutting around the window and the windowsill. But in general, I followed the same basic process of getting my overall size cut and then focusing on the detailed cuts, then using liquid nails and the brad nailer to attach it to the wall.
With the first couple of pieces on, you can start to see how cool this backsplash is really gonna be. And if it looks like Andrea's done this before, well, she has. We've actually used this same basic process in my music studios in the past, and it was a really cool, creative, and cost-effective way to turn a very normal room into a beautiful, professional-looking recording studio.
Next, I continued cutting, gluing, and nailing, and with every piece that went up, it got more and more exciting. So we finished putting all the panels up in the backsplash area, and as we were doing that, we started looking at this wall and thinking it would look really cool just to continue it on that entire wall and also feel more realistic, because it's a little bit weird to have your brick in the middle of a wall, even though we would put a little trim piece up there and we're like, that's not that much more. I love doing like a backsplash all the way to the ceiling because it brings your eye up. It's kind of like hanging your curtains high. And this room, it's just one more thing making this room feel so much bigger. It looks so good. We weren't planning on working on this part of the wall, so before we could get started, we had to move a few things out of the way. You might have noticed that on a few of these smaller seams, I didn't worry about cutting out the brick in that zigzag pattern, and that is because I'll be going back over all of this with drywall compound, and these smaller areas are going to be much easier to conceal. Once I finished hanging all of the brick, I grabbed a huge bucket of joint compound and a 6-inch putty knife to apply it. I then scraped it on in a somewhat random pattern, and the purpose of this is to give it that really authentic aged brick look, and it also helps to cover up all of the seams. I made sure not to apply it too heavy all over because I knew I would be painting all of it white, and I wanted to make sure I could still see that brick texture coming through. Our friends really love a sort of eclectic coffee shop feel, and I feel like this brick backsplash really hits that nail on the head.
Alright, we need to hit pause for a second and talk about what you guys have given towards the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee campaign, because this week got crazy.
You're so generous, and again, we're blown away of the generosity of strangers.
Alright, so in week 1, y'all gave just over $1,200, and now here at the end of week 2, y'all have given over $2,500, and it just keeps coming in. And so that means all of the decor items, the rugs, the bar stools, 25 other things that you decorate the house with, that is a check, baby. Put a check on that. And then number 2, the frame TV, the beautiful piece of artwork, put a check on it.
I can't wait.
Put a check on it.
I cannot wait.
So we're gonna do this for a third and final week, and if we can get the funds for it, we're gonna go for that stainless steel fridge and maybe even washer, we don't know. But however much you guys give, again, it's going straight into this project. And let's just go one more round. One more round is all we need, and let's just blow them out. We're so thankful. We can't believe how much support that y'all have given. You're so generous. Your notes have been super kind and encouraging, and we just love to have you guys as a part of our team on this project. So here's to one more week. Let's do it. Woo!
Once Andrea finished applying the joint compound to the brick, we got the whole living room and kitchen ready for paint, but we ran into a few snags.
Thankfully, our friends were super gracious and said it wasn't that big of a deal, but here I'm gonna state the obvious and say you should definitely remove breakable items from your shelves before you try and move them. After getting all of the furniture moved out of the way, I went ahead and vacuumed all of the trim, the baseboards, the floors close to the walls, and a lot of the walls, because if you saw our awesome drywall guys hard at work, they were sanding so much of the drywall patching they had to do to the ceiling that there was dust on everything, even the vertical surfaces. I also gave all of the trim and a good portion of the walls a good cleaning with a microfiber cloth and cred cutter. After I finished wiping the trim and walls, I started masking off the cabinets, the lights, the windows, and anything else I didn't want to get overspray on because I would be spraying the ceilings.
And here's where we hit our second snag, and this one was a biggie. Back in December, after hitting 100,000 subscribers, we finally broke down and got a nice new camera and lens, and that lens just got a taste of the pavement.
The dog's up.
So this is where we'll give a friendly reminder to like and subscribe to this video and help us get a new lens.
Thankfully, after getting over that initial shock of damaging this brand new camera lens, my sister came through with a little afternoon pick-me-up and brought us some coffee and a couple of cute little visitors.
Are you here to see Mama work? You here to visit Mama?
After our coffee break and a few hugs, I finished masking everything off and was ready to paint. I started with a Zinsser water-based stain-blocking bonding primer that I sprayed on all of the trim, the windows, and a few stains that were coming through on the ceiling. Since we had so many drywall repairs on the ceiling, I went ahead and primed the entire ceiling, which meant that Dean needed to make a run for more primer.
So I did exactly as I was asked, and I got one thing and one thing only.
Yep. Your timing was perfect. After finishing priming the ceilings, I had just a little bit of primer left in my gun, and so I went ahead and sprayed the brick. Barely enough. Since the primer dried on all of the trim first, I went ahead and loaded up my airless paint sprayer with satin paint and gave all of the trim 2 solid coats of paint.
After Andrea finished the first coat of paint, I thought it was time for a cookie break.
Oh, where'd you get those?
I found these. Sorry, William and Andrea, we may have eaten some of your Thin Mints.
After I finished spraying all of the trim, I switched my sprayer to flat paint and started spraying all of the ceilings. After just starting the living room ceilings, we needed another gallon of paint, and we ended up using every last drop of those 2 gallons.
Don't fall!
So
you might have noticed that we didn't make any effort to cover up the floors, and that is because we knew we had a big surprise coming for them next week, which you'll just have to stay tuned for.
It's a little bit hard to really capture just how much better the ceilings really look, but after making a few drywall repairs and then giving all of it a fresh coat of paint, it is looking incredible and was more than worth all of the effort to do that. The next day, it was time to paint the backsplash and the walls. Now, I know there are probably a lot of you out there that are cringing as I cover up this brick, but you have to keep the end picture in mind, and once we install the wood floor and the wood floating shelves to bring in that warmth, I am really hoping that I will have convinced at least most of you that this was the right choice.
You see, I've learned in situations like this over the last 10 years to just let the girl do her thing, let the artist paint their picture, and in the end, it always turns out incredible.
Once I finished painting the brick, I started on the first coat on the kitchen and living room walls, and it is crazy what a difference paint makes. I went with one of my favorite whites, and that's Benjamin Moore's Simply White, and as I painted, it started looking like this blank canvas that was going to be perfect for all of the color and texture that we would be bringing in with the floors and the furnishings and decor. Was able to jump in and help on the second and third coat, and from there it went super fast.
Well, I love the way this backsplash turned out. It's one of the coolest, most creative, and of course, cost-effective ways to make a really, really cool brick backsplash.
Yeah, I agree. I love the way it looks. And like I said, they love this kind of coffee shop vibe, and I feel like it just totally fits that. And I'm just so excited to see everything else come in because it's gonna look so good.
And I just love how you made it go over the archway leading into the dining room. That is such a cool idea. All right, so now let's talk about the cost breakdown on this backsplash, because this is one of the more cost-effective, thrifty projects I think you've ever done.
Okay, so each of those 4x8 foot sheets of the faux brick cost $37, and we needed 2 of them. I bought that huge bucket of drywall compound for $17, which we ended up using a lot of that for other drywall repairs too, and so I don't even think it's fair to put that whole cost in there, but just say we do, then we're up to right about $100. I got 2 tubes of liquid nails that are about $5 a piece, and used a few nails that I already had, so really we're coming out to like just over $100 for this entire backsplash, which is such a high impact for such a low cost.
So it was thrifty but amazing, and it looks so good.
And it really fits. Sorry.
Okay, so as usual, this project is just gonna keep going and getting more exciting week by week. And this upcoming week, we had a flooring company come through and is gonna floor their entire house with beautiful wood flooring. So it's just really gonna give it a facelift in this next week. So keep on the train with us, and we'll catch you in the next video. Get it, Ken! Get it! Get that tail!
What do you want me to say?
I don't judge.
You do. I can see it in your
I don't
eyes.
judge, I produce.
I can see you looking down your nose at my rambling.
Yeah!